Today, we're tackling a really weird paradox, one that can actually sink a business that looks like it's doing great. It's called the profit trap. We're going to find out why that old saying, cash is king, isn't just a cliche, it's literally a rule for survival. So let's jump right in. All right, let me ask you a question that, well, it sounds kind of impossible, right? Can a company that's profitable, making money, actually go bankrupt? The answer, which might surprise you, is a big yes. And figuring out how that happens is absolutely critical for anyone in business. And that right there is what we call the profit trap paradox. It's this super deceptive situation where, on paper, a business looks amazing, but in reality, it's running on fumes. It's running out of the one thing it truly needs to operate: actual cash. So what is the profit trap, really? It's actually a pretty simple idea, but it's incredibly dangerous. It means your income statement, the official report, shows this nice, healthy profit, but your bank account, it's empty. And you can't pay your employees or keep the lights on with paper profits, can you? It's an illusion of health, all because we get so focused on chasing profit that we forget cash is the actual fuel that keeps the engine running. Okay, so how do you avoid this trap? How do you steer clear? Well, the key is something called working capital management. And look, it's more than just, managing your money. It's really the art of strategically handling your day-to-day cash flow to make sure you always have enough to cover your bills. And just as important, to invest in your future. To really get this, we've got to pull back the curtain and see how money is actually tracked. Because that profit you see on the financial statements, it can be super misleading. It is not the same thing as the cash you have sitting in the bank. So let's break down why that is. Okay, this right here is the heart of the whole problem. It comes down to two ways of looking at money. On one hand, you have accrual accounting. That's where you record a sale the second you send an invoice. So you look profitable, but you haven't actually been paid yet. On the other hand, you've got cash accounting. This one's simple. It only counts the money when it physically lands in your bank account. And for a manager who needs to make payroll, that's the only number that really matters. Now, when we talk about cash flow, it's usually broken down into three buckets. You've got operating cash flow. That's money from just, making and selling your stuff. Then there's investing cash from buying or selling big things like equipment. And finally, financing cash, which comes from loans or investors. For our purposes today, we're zeroing in on that first one, operating cash flow. That's the lifeblood of the business. All right, so if looking at profit isn't giving us the real story, what should we be looking at instead? Let's get into the key numbers, the actual tools you can use to give your company a real-time financial health check. First up is working capital. The best way to think about this is like a financial safety buffer. It's the cash you've got ready to go to cover all your immediate bills and expenses. If that buffer is too small, your business is really vulnerable to any little bump in the road. So how do you know if your safety net, your buffer, is big enough? Well, the easiest, most straightforward way is a little thing called the current ratio. Seriously, it's like taking your business's pulse. It's quick, it's simple, and boy, is it revealing. Okay, so if you calculate your current ratio and it's anything below 1, that's when the alarm bells should be going off. That's the danger zone. All it means is that you have more bills due soon than you have cash and stuff you can turn into cash quickly. It's a simple, scary formula. You don't have enough to cover your short-term debts. So what you're looking for, the sweet spot, is a current ratio is somewhere between 1 and 2. Something like 1.5 is a great sign. It tells you you're stable, you've got a healthy safety buffer, but you're not just sitting on a giant pile of cash that could be put to work growing the business. And yeah, that brings up the other side of it. You can have too much of a good thing. A ratio way up there, like 2.5, you might think, wow, we're super safe. But it can actually be a sign that you're being inefficient. It means you have a ton of cash just sitting around doing nothing. That's a huge missed opportunity to invest in growth. Okay, so let's get practical. How can you actively improve your cash situation? Well, one of the most powerful numbers to watch is your receivables turnover. In plain English, that's just a measure of how fast your customers are paying their bills. The higher that number, the faster you're turning those invoices into actual spendable cash. And right alongside that, you've got inventory turnover. This is all about how fast you're selling your products. I love this visual. If your inventory turnover is low, your cash is literally stuck on your warehouse shelves, just sitting there as unsold goods. The whole game is turning that stuff back into cash as quickly as possible. All right, enough theory. Let's put this stuff to work. We're going to walk through a quick real-world scenario to see exactly how these numbers can diagnose a cash flow problem, and more importantly, point you directly to the solution. So, imagine this. This is a classic profit trap situation. A manager comes to you and says, "I don't get it. Our net profit report looks amazing, but we're struggling to pay the electricity bill this month." That's when the panic starts to set in, right? But the numbers, if you know where to look, can show you the way out. And boom, here's our first clue. We run a quick calculation and find out their current ratio is 0.8. And as we just talked about, where does that put them? Squarely in the danger zone. They simply don't have enough liquid assets to cover their immediate bills. So let me ask you, based on that one number, is this company in good financial health? I think we all know the answer. It's a huge no. Even with those high profits on paper, their actual cash situation is critical. Okay, so the diagnosis is clear. The patient is sick. The company is in trouble. But, just knowing you have a problem isn't enough, right? What is one single tangible thing that manager can do, like right now, to get cash flowing in the right direction? The answer is all about focus. First, you have to find the bottleneck. And in a situation like this, the fastest way to get cash is almost always to focus on that receivables turnover. What does that mean in the real world? It means picking up the phone. It means emailing clients. It means doing whatever it takes to get customers to pay those outstanding bills and pay them faster. All right, so let's wrap this up. What are the big things to remember here? First, and this is huge, profit isn't cash. Cash is what pays the bills. Second, that current ratio, it's your new best friend for a quick financial health check. And finally, and maybe most importantly, remember that you can take control of this. You can actually unlock cash that's tied up in your business just by focusing on getting paid faster and selling your inventory faster. So I'll leave you with one final thought, a question to take with you. After everything we've talked about today, the huge difference between looking profitable and actually having cash. What is the first number you're going to check in your business tomorrow? American business and management. It's a big one. So, this is the big question we're going to tackle throughout the entire module. We're really going to explore what makes business in America tick, right now. So, here's our game plan. We've got 3 main steps to guide us through. First things first, to get where we are now, we've got to go back. We'll start with industrialization. This was a total game changer for how business was done. And then we'll see how globalization basically blew the doors open to the entire world. Okay, so let's jump to today and see what that history actually created. And of course, we have to talk about tech. Its impact has been absolutely massive. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of the opportunities and, the challenges out there. So what's the point of all this? Well, it's all about getting to your end goal. See, everything you're going to learn here helps you build one really, really important skill. And that skill, it's understanding these core ideas: capitalism, innovation, and entrepreneurship. This module will give you the tools to tackle what's coming next for American business.